Excellent. And talking about public-private partnerships right now, I wonder if the both of you, Michael, Reza, and also Stephen, might recall some examples of some successful examples of where these collaborations have created synergies and supported startups.
Yeah, I mean, I think I spent about 10 years in the government, so I really appreciate being in the private sector and being able to work with our friends and partners in the government. We have probably close to 9,000 government agencies using our services, and so we work with a lot of innovation commands here in the U.S. like SpaceWorks and AFWorks, DIU, NavalX, and we're always looking for ways to um, to help them find their startups and help our startups understand, like leverage those platforms for how to enter the government. AFWorks has been really good for this. SpaceWorks, we're having great conversations with them, um, and they're all over the world. It's not just in the U.S.
What I would add on to that is with NASA, it's been very creative in trying to create public-private partnerships to enable to support startups. So my favorite example is what you and I did, Sydney, with the New York Space Alliance, being able to take NASA technology and connect it to the New York ecosystem. NASA created a partnership with the community in Puerto Rico, a group called Parallel 18, to be able to seed companies there. Down in Brownsville, Texas, there's a group down there, Expanding Frontiers, a new partnership there to be able to move technology to support the growing startup new space ecosystem down there. So lots of interesting relationships with incubators, accelerators. It works with organizations like Mass Challenge in Houston to be able to find innovative ways to bring the NASA expertise, technologies, and capabilities to the entrepreneur community.
As we move forward, how do you see the space ecosystem evolving, right? I guess this collaboration between private and public will continue to evolve, to develop. In which ways do you see some big changes happening far ahead? Just same we've seen in the past 10 years.
I have a thought. So you mentioned, Stephen, you mentioned the Nokia payload on the Lunar Outpost rover. And this is Nokia is paying to put a 4G LTE network on the moon. And that's a really exciting development. And everything about the cislunar economy and the lunar economy is very exciting. And I feel that a lot of folks think this is 10, 20 years away, but it's happening this year, that there are commercial companies paying for payload space on the moon. And I think that we're just seeing increasingly, like every step of the way, on-orbit refueling, on-orbit robotics and manufacturing, lunar power systems and rovers and resource harvesting. There's more and more commercial money going into that. And I don't think we're going to displace the government contracts anytime soon. We're going to need those for a long time to come. But let me just reference another example that I mentioned. In the Ukraine, we're seeing commercial space companies working with nonprofits and NGOs and using space technologies. And there's this entire decision loop, and governments are not involved at all. So this is an economy that I think commercial space is really going full steam ahead.
I fully agree with Michael, but I also see, there's going to be a lot of viable NGSO low Earth orbit commercial applications because, I've been going to two conferences on an annual basis. The one in DC, Washington, DC, the satellite conference, and also the one in Paris, which is the satellite finance conference. Every year from 2017 till the last year, it was like they didn't really see the the geostationary players didn't really see LEO players as a threat, right? They said, oh, maybe one of them will survive or 12 of them will survive, and then it kept changing. And a lot of the geo players put their plans on pause because they saw that LEO applications are becoming a lot more viable. To now, if you're going to the last few years of last maybe 2 years of the conferences, you'll hear that actually some of these geo players want to partner with the LEO or acquire the LEO operators. So I think going forward we'll see a lot of these LEO applications.
I totally agree. I think this like binary view of it's either Geo or Leo is a little bit myopic, and I say that as a guy that used to work at a primarily Geo company, the company that made Geosats. I won't say which one. You can check my LinkedIn. But really, the strength is in those hybrid networks, right? Like there's an argument for both the bandwidth economics of Geo and the resilience of Leo and everything else in between. But I'm a big believer in balance, and hybrid networks are the future.
And so, Sydney, for me, two things. The first is a much longer conversation, but I think when it comes to public-private partnerships, the role of NASA is going to shift over the next 10, 15 years. Much longer conversation. I'll just leave that as a teaser for future. The second one, though, is where I think Seldor has a great play in is this lunar ecosystem. I think I tell people all the time that I believe because of the companies we're investing in and the activities that we're seeing, we're going to see a growing population on the surface of the moon within 15 years. And what I love is that it will require the technologies from ACORE to be able to keep these people safe with the water supply. It will require being able to modify and to do repairs with friction welding technology from Fusematic. And what I'm hoping is that what enables us to get there and also to be able to do things from the moon will be the technology from SwissPod. If anyone, I used to have a requirement for my team that was doing a technology lab back at NASA to read the book 2076. It was The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. And then it is a nod to the SwissPod technology of being able to send through a Hyperloop resources back to Earth. So I see that what we have invested in Seldor will find its place on this lunar ecosystem.
And for the three of you, can you share some examples of how startups, and for the founders who are with us here today, how startups can engage on practical terms with AWS, with Exim Bank, and Steven, getting your your NASA hat, like some programs that you think are tailored to companies that might be benefiting from all these organization supports.
Yeah, easy. So I'm here for you all. My job as a former founder myself, my job is the best job in the world. I get to just help founders and work with folks like Sydney and Steven and everyone at Seldor. So, as I've said many times to you, when you have founders that are interested, let them reach out or connect us. So anyone in the audience, you can either reach out directly to me. I'm pretty easy to find on LinkedIn, or get Sydney to send an email to both of us. We have a lot of different, everyone is different. Everyone needs, different things. So we can have a conversation and see where you want to be and how we get you there. And then another shameless plug for the AWS Space Accelerator. The applications are open right now and close on April 15th. So if you're at all interested, go ahead and apply or reach out to me and we can talk.
Yeah. So from Exim Bank side, so again, we have two different, target markets. One is the exporter market. And for that, at any stage, we're happy to, have a conversation with them. If they're a US-based company or they're manufacturing goods here in the US, or they're US-based service providers, we'd be happy to, have a conversation to see whether, we're able to support their international exports, basically, via insurance products or working capital financing. We also have, of course, products which are buyer financing products for the international customers of the U.S. exporters. We can do them on, corporate finance basis, sovereign guaranteed basis, even structured or project finance where, you're a startup, SPV, and, we look at the future cash flows. As long as they're contracted, you have a strong sponsor with skin in the game, we'd be able to, lend funds to you so that you could buy, goods and services from the U.S., and again, including launch and satellite systems or other things.
Yeah, so 4 different ways. Number one, for entrepreneurs is the technology. NASA has a whole lot of technology that is willing to license, and especially for startups, there's no fee for the first 3 years to be able to license the technology. We had some success with the New York Space Alliance, doing stuff all around the country. So definitely go to NASA's technology transfer, and you can go through their portfolio to see all of the couple of thousand technologies that are available for the public. Second, small business innovative research, small business technology transfer programs, 2 wonderful ways to be able to access funding, non-dilutive funding, to be able to support the development of your technology. NASA, I believe the call just might have closed up, but look for it again. the end of this year for the always needing technologies that most entrepreneurs can find a way to fit into. And then thirdly, there's other programs that it launches like NASA iTech. It's supposed to connect entrepreneurs to funding, but as Simvita can share, being able to be recognized as a finalist in that program helps open up doors. So even though it may not get funding right away, it is a great thing to participate in, and it enables future opportunities. So those are three things right away that entrepreneurs can do to be able to connect back to NASA.
And the last question for everyone. I know that all of us are excited about science fiction. All of us are excited about what we're going to be seeing in the space sector in the next decade. Can you share with the audience one particular project or one source of inspiration in the space sector that you'd like to see coming into fruition in the next few years? So why don't we start with Steven, Reza, and then finish with Mike?
What I'm looking forward to, and I've alluded to this with the moon, is that we're seeing people like William Shatner and a whole bunch of billionaires getting up there. I'm looking forward to the day where space is available to people that want to go on a cruise or on a vacation, not to the billionaires. And I think within my lifetime, we'll see space open up for people to be able to work and live in space and not have to require to write a check for $10 billion.
For me, free democratic access to internet. That's number one for me, and I'm actually quite inspired by what's happening in Ukraine, and folks getting access to internet. So that's what really inspires me.
I'm really excited about a lot of ideas that I hear around sustainability in space, and that can mean a lot of things. So like space domain awareness, and we need to clean up the debris and be aware of it. But especially like how do we build, in 15 years when we're all living on the moon and we're having the 15th annual Seldor Capital meeting on a lunar base, how are we building with materials that are local and sustaining ourselves as a species? And I'll just leave you with one quick example. There was a Reddit AMA with a Manchester scientist a few months back, and he has developed a way to use blood proteins mixed with lunar regolith to 3D print building blocks, right? So you can also do it with pulses like beans and lentils. You don't have to use the astronauts. But the idea is like there are a lot of really exciting experiments going on right now that we're going to be turning into real world applications for sustaining ourselves on interplanetary bodies, and that is really exciting to me.
Thanks so much, Mike, Reza, and Steven, for joining this very exciting panel. And now we're transitioning to our next discussion.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us on. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Take care.